This morning I'm in the shop working on scabbing a bunch of these drop pieces together that I cut off of the old alleyway. And what I need to do here is make a little frame to put on the end of the alley where we cut everything off. But the next step in the squeeze chute swap is to sort of finish off that alleyway so that we can get in there and pour some cement. So the plan today is to get this little frame thing finished here in the shop and then take it down to the ranch. We'll load up the welder and see if I can get this welded onto the end of the alleyway where we cut it back. And if I'm not explaining this well, because I feel like maybe I'm not, just stick with me. Once you see me do it, it'll all make sense. And after we get done with that, we'll just kind of see where the day takes us. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. This open, what will be bottom, is really nothing more than potential wasp habitat, so we're going to try to cap this. I've got a pretty rough fit up here, and I'm just kind of trying to see if everything is going to work, if we're ready to go, you know, right away. But it looks like I need to do some grinder work. This last horizontal square tube on the bottom didn't cut very straight, and it's pushing this whole thing out. So I need to square that up, and obviously we'll need to clean a bunch of paint off of all this stuff before we start welding. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. You might notice that this is quite a bit taller than what was here before, and it's not just because I was hitting my head on that one. It should pretty much match the height of the Arrowquip chute, and that's why I made it tall like that. There, to me, was no sense to have it lower or the same height when the chute is tall, so now it should all kind of fit up together and look a little better. It's a couple days later now, and I'm down here again in the working curl. I've got my welder and all the tools that I need to get this little frame piece welded onto the end of the alleyway, so hopefully I can get that done today. The first thing that's got to happen is I need to prep this metal here where I cut it off, and mostly all that's going to entail is getting any rust or paint off of this right where I'm going to be welding it. Yes, I could weld through the rust and the paint, but when you do that, you increase the chances of getting impurities in the weld that could later on lead to a failure. And, you know, it's less time to just prep it right now than have to come back and fix it later. Well, I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself. There is one more thing I need to get straightened out before I put the frame on, and that is this top piece of square tubing. When I was pounding the piece out that I'd cut, this one bent down. It's really obvious when you hold the sheet metal up to it. It needs to come up like ½ an inch or maybe a little bit more. So I'm hoping I can just stick the crowbar in there and bend it up, but I might need to pound it too. Went up a little bit. Probably not enough. Making progress. I need something longer. More leverage would be ideal here. The hammer bent it down, the hammer can bend it up. I'll take it. If you're wondering how I'm suspending this and getting it in the right spot, all I did is I just clamped some flat bar to the bottom rail here so that the new frame can sit on it, and it'll perfectly locate it on both sides. That piece of flat bar gets the height dialed in, and then I can come back through here with each horizontal rail and clamp everything up to straighten everything out, and we should be good. I've got everything clamped up here and it looks pretty good. There are a couple gaps that are going to be a little more difficult than others. This pipe here on the top is probably the worst one. I'd say we're looking at about a ½ inch gap, maybe just slightly under ½ inch, which is, it's a lot to fill, especially on thin metal, but I'm sure that I can do it. It's just going to take a little bit of extra time, but not as much extra time as it would take to take this whole thing back off, come back with the grinder, try to fine tune things. I mean, we're close enough to weld. I figured I'd do the hard one first because by comparison, the rest of these gaps are going to seem really easy to fill. With this piece installed, the alley portion of this project is pretty much done. And I know I had talked before about welding a step on here, and I do still plan to do that, but I want to get the chute in first and then, you know, just kind of see how it's all laid out, see how it's all going to work and where exactly I will want the step, where the step might be in my way. You know, I don't want to create a tripping hazard in here. We've got plenty of those already. I do plan to come back and paint this, but I'm not even thinking about trying to do that today. It's way too windy. It's supposed to rain this afternoon, so today's not a good painting day. But that is part of the plan. So the next step, and one of the last steps to this project, is the concrete. And I've been going back and forth. There's several different ways I could do this, all of which would probably give me a fairly good result, but I'm just really not sure which way I want to go. So to start off, I should just say that what really needs to happen here is I just need to extend this slab back another, you know, whatever it is, 3 feet or so, and make a spot to mount the rear load bar and thus the rear of the chute. But I was also thinking, you know, while I'm in here doing all this, this is the time to make some changes or make some upgrades if that's what I decide I want to do. So one option is to just get a jackhammer in here, jackhammer this old slab out, and just start completely over from scratch. In the end, that would probably give me the result that I was the happiest with, but it would also take the longest and be by far the most expensive. Another option is to just piggyback another small slab off the back of this one and make sure that wherever the load bars are gonna mount are level with each other, knowing that this slab is not perfectly level, but it really doesn't need to be. Just the load bars in relationship with each other need to be. And I do kind of worry that if I did things this way, even if I tied into the old slab with rebar, that there is the potential for the two slabs to sort of like shift on each other, and that would kind of throw the load bars out of whack and maybe mess with the scale a little bit. So I'm not sure that I want to do that. Another option would be to build like a concrete form right up next to the old slab and then have the height of that form even with the height of the ramp here, so that the new slab essentially would be like whatever this is, 3 inches I think thick on top of the old slab, level with the ramp here. I'm hoping you guys can see what I'm pointing at. And then that new slab, the new pour, would come clear on down here to the back. It'd be a very thick pour here on the back to make everything level and even, but that would give me essentially a new slab. It's just I avoid having to tear out the old one, and that's kind of the way that I'm leaning. One bad thing about doing it that way, or one thing that I don't like about it at least, is that the new slab would end up being pretty high off the ground. And what I would probably do to sort of combat that is to pour a bunch of gravel in here where I work to sort of raise me up. And this might be a thing that I should do anyway, because then I wouldn't have any mud in here. And then where the chute is, or where the slab sits right now, is becoming a low spot. If you guys remember all the wood chips that I brought in here a while ago, that raised this up like 6 or 8 inches in the working area, which is great because it stays a lot drier here, but then it makes the water kind of tend to settle here where I'm usually trying to work. So if I raise the slab, brought in some gravel, and sort of raise the area around here, and while doing that, put a bunch of gravel in front of the concrete ramp here, because I'm sure a lot of you have noticed that when the cows exit the chute, they usually just jump over this ramp. So I think if I put some gravel sort of like up on top of the ramp and leading down off of it, that would kind of help with the exit, smooth, you know, kind of smooth things out when they leave the chute. It's gonna be a lot of work no matter what option I decide to go with, so I'm just kind of trying to weigh like the cost, the labor, the end result, and just figure out what's gonna be the best way to go here. I'm out here in the back pasture now, and the next job for today is to get another hot wire strung up here. I've got my yearlings back here. They're way back there. You probably won't be able to see them, but they've had a small little paddock that they've had access to now for, I don't know, a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. And they're getting it trimmed down pretty low. So we need to give them some fresh grass. And that's what this hot wire will let us do. People might be wondering, why aren't these yearling steers going to the steer pasture? And the main reason for that is I would like to get the new chute put in so that I can run these guys through, give them their vaccinations and brands and all that stuff before they head up to the steer pasture. Also, my temporary chute that I have set up at the end of the loading alley in the time being while we're getting the new one installed is blocking off the loading alley. So I really don't want to have to move that chute to load calves and then put everything back. It would really just be a lot easier to get the new chute set up, get the old one pulled out, run the calves through the new chute, and then load them and, you know, just go on about our lives at that point. And besides all that, in the time being, while the steers are still here at the home ranch, the steer pasture is getting a chance to recover and just not have any animals grazing on it. And that's good to just give that pasture a little bit of a rest. Well, lots of feed out here. On a little side note, as I'm walking around down here, I can see some of the stuff that I planted in the fall. This is beardless barley here. You can see it's already headed out. There's a little bit of beardless wheat here as well. I think I'm gonna have to come down here with some hedge trimmers and cut these, whatever they are, down. Yeah, the wire, it's in them pretty bad. So we'll get this all hooked up and turned on, and I would like to just test the voltage to see where it's at, but odds are we got some landscape work to do down here. Well, the timing worked out pretty good. Right as soon as we got done, you can see all the calves are starting to walk up here, and shouldn't be long before they make it up here. So when they do go into the new area that I've opened up for them, I'm gonna take this reel and run it back to that fence so that they can no longer access any of this land over here. They'll just be on this front part. But there's plenty of feed out here for, boy, for these guys, probably 2 or 3 weeks, easy. All right, well, we got all the wires where we want them. We got the calves where we want them. I need to go turn this hot wire back on because they will respect a dead hot wire for a little while, but not forever. So we need to get some heat on this thing. Well, I just pulled the Honda through the gate here to run up and turn the hot wire back on, and it died. And now it won't start, and it's making a very suspicious noise when I crank it over. And all the 12,000 plus miles I've put on this thing, I've really never had any problems with it, and I guess I can't say that anymore. It's making sort of like a clicking, rattling sound in the engine, which is not good. I wonder if we broke a piston ring or something is, you know, making it where it doesn't have compression and kind of giving it a rattle sound. If that's the case, it'll need a new top end and probably a new cylinder, or at least a machine cylinder. So hey, that's not what I need right now. So that means, I guess first thing, I gotta figure out how to get that thing back home. I've got an idea of how to do it. Yeah, man, what a bummer. All right, first thing, we gotta get this mower off of here. I know this is bad for the rope, what I'm about to do, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Part of me wants to be mad that it broke down right here because it's kind of a pain to get it towed up out of here, but I keep trying to tell myself, well, thank goodness this didn't happen like out on the county road or something. Going in a straight line's not bad, but boy, sharp turns are not too fun. The thing about Hondas is that they have a locked up rear end, and if you don't know what that means, it means that each wheel cannot spin independently of the other one. So if one wheel is spinning, the other one will be spinning the same speed, basically is the way to think of it. That's great when you're going in a straight line, but when you're trying to go around a curve, it makes things very difficult. So trying to back it into the shop here, I just don't think that's gonna work in this configuration. What I'll have to do is pick it up from the back end and then have my wife just steer it into the shop here where I can work on it. For now, I think I'm just gonna park it outside. It's not like anyone can steal it, so that's what we'll do. All right, let's go turn that hot wire back on before I forget about it. We're gonna take the four-wheeler that Belly has never ridden on, so I'm not sure how this is gonna go. Maybe Callie can show her how to do it. Come on, Callie. Good girl. Come on, Belly. Come on. Come on, Belly. Here, up here. Up here. Come on. Where Callie is. Get where Callie is. Come on. Well, we got her up here, but that's only half the battle. Hey, good girl. Okay. She got that part figured out. And of course, I forgot my tester, so I won't be able to see how bad the weeds across the ditch are grounding out the wire. But I guess as long as the light is still green, it's saying that there's no problem. So I don't know, it's better than nothing. Well, the light is green, which indicates it's not shorting out bad enough for the box to register it. So, you know, hopefully it works. Well, this video was kind of all over the place, but we got a few things done that needed to get done, and now I feel like I've got another very big project that I really wasn't planning on doing, at least not anytime soon, and that's going to be an engine rebuild on the Honda. At least that's, I assume that's what it's going to take to get it running again. It's not dead for good, it's just dead for now. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.